Great to be here today with you. Everybody doing good?
Yes.
All right. I have a very special box here today. You may have noticed. It's actually quite ambrosial. This, in case you're wondering, this belongs to my wife. But I plan to use this in my speech today on research. I'm talking about researching your topic for speeches, which is my project number 7. And I read recently that researchers in the UK actually came up with what they believe is the funniest joke in the world. So see what you think. It's about 2 old golfers that were out golfing on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. And as they were the one golfer was getting ready to chip a shot, he looked up and saw a funeral procession driving by on the overpass. All the cars had their lights on. And he stopped and took his golfer's cap off and bowed his head for a moment of silence. And the other golfer that was with him was impressed. He said to him, "That's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen." And the man replied, "Well, she was my wife for 35 years, so I figured I owed it to her." Okay, we'll let the UK researchers know that you guys don't think that's the funniest one in the world. I've had some experience with researching. When I was working on my master's program at Northwestern University, I got into a class called Applied Research and Writing. And I had straight A's until I got up to that course. And then it was all over. And they started talking about developing a thesis and arguments and crediting sources and doing all this research. And it was quite difficult. For me, I mean, I had done probably research in just a very informal way before that. You know, by the time I got finished with that course, I knew that I had no life and that I could actually describe that logically. For me, a subordinate clause was one of Santa Claus's helpers. So I was really overwhelmed by that class and working at the same time. But you know, research can actually be fun. I don't know if you believe that or not, but I want to show this to you today. And that's why I brought this hat box with me, which belongs to my wife. And this hat box, to me, it kind of represents research, because we need to open up something and explore it. Research is about diligently inquiring into a subject and finding out what's really contained inside. And so, as I open up this box, I want to share with you the football. The American football. Now, the Sergeant of Arms has told me he can catch this. Beautiful. Hey, throw that back to me,
What I told
Jeff.
you was I don't know if I can throw it
No,
back.
it's okay. In fact, you're demonstrating my point, which is the very odd shape of the football, which I want to talk about in just a minute. But the football is an American icon. Now, this is not a true, genuine NFL football, because I'm too cheap to go out and pay them kind of money that it would take to get one. But I love football growing up. One of my favorite stories that I heard from futurevoicesofamerica.org was about Vince Lombardi, a famous coach, which I'm sure you've heard of. And Vince Lombardi, he would walk into the practice session of each year, the first session, and he would say to his players, he would hold up a football and say, "Gentlemen, this is a football," to emphasize that they needed to stress the basics. And you know, the basics are really important in research. Now, the NFL football, I want to get back to this strange shape. The shape of the football actually started from players using a pig's bladder to play with. They would inflate a pig's bladder. and so they'd stitch it up, and that's how it actually originally got the shape, and then they covered it with leather. So the NFL football, though, is made by the Wilson Company, still today after 58 years, up in Ohio, and the football is still made by hand and stitched. The one that the NFL uses is stitched by hand by workers in a factory in Ada, Ohio. Now, the football is made from cow skin leather. Cows that are found in Kansas and in Nebraska and in the high plains, and they will get that leather from those cows because it resists stretching out of shape. You know, that was a little known fact that I discovered that even the Chick-fil-A cow does not know about. So that's something very interesting that you're going to come across as you begin to research. But I want to talk in closing about this football. It has a unique name called the Duke in the NFL, and it's named after a man named Wellington Morrow, who was an owner of the New York Giants. But I want to share something else. As I got ready to throw this pass to Jeff, normally a quarterback will say, "Hut, hut," or call numbers out. I'm sure you're all familiar with that, yes? And they did an interview with the Super Bowl coach, John Harbaugh, and asked him if he knew where that term hut came from. And he did not know. And they asked a lot of NFL players who did not know. But the term hut is a military cadence term going back to the Roman times when they would have the men march, and then they would say hut, which meant to execute the command. So when you think about the football and you watch the Super Bowl next year, you'll know a little bit more about this American icon that is actually a legend in motion. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.